Greetings, hello, good day, everybody, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining Truehope Cast. This is the official Truehope Canada podcast. My name is Simon, I am your host. If you're unfamiliar with Truehope Canada is a mind and body based supplement company that is dedicated first and foremost to promoting brain and body health through non-invasive nutritional means. For more information about us, you can visit truehopecanada.com. Our guest today is Bioenergy Test Practitioner Phil Kushnir. Phil is the Canadian distributor and practitioner for the Qest 4 system. He has been a distributor and practitioner since September 2016, and both Phil and his wife Doreen are Qest 4 technicians. Phil's been an entrepreneur for over 30 years, owning various different businesses during that time. And Phil and his beautiful wife Doreen live in Bonnyville, Alberta, which I hear is pretty chilly at the moment. So, Phil, thank you so much for joining us today. First question is always, how are you?
I'm good. We're up here in chilly Bonnyville, Alberta, Canada. So other than just freezing right now, I'm very well, thank you.
That's great. Yeah. When you're talking about minus 30s and minus 50s with wind chill, I have been to Calgary in February and it's the coldest that I've ever been on the planet. So when you're talking 30s and 50s, my body actually can't even recognize what that might even be like. But good for you. I'm sure it's beautiful up there in the spring and the summer, and there's all sorts of wintry things that you can do. But just to kick off, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey into the field, very interesting field of bioenergy?
Sure. Like you said, I've been a business owner for over 30 years. I incorporated my first company in 1986. So I'm dating myself a little bit, but it took me till I was 55 to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and I found this. What happened was my wife had vertigo, terrible vertigo, and we could not find out what was going on with her. We went to all the doctors and all the specialists for 3.5 years, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. At the end, she was getting it every second day, and they were going to put her on short-term disability at work because her vertigo was so bad. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't read a book. She couldn't watch TV. All she could do was lay perfectly still in her bed. I would take her by the arm, bring her to the bathroom, let her throw up, and bring her back to bed. That was her life. It was just horrible. And anyway, I wasn't playing hockey because of this, because I'm taking care of my wife. And one of my buddies said, "Hey, how come you're not playing hockey anymore?" And I told him, the story of Doreen and the vertigo. And he said, "Well, why, nobody's been able to find anything." I said, "No, they think it, at the start, they thought it was benign positional vertigo. And then they figured out that wasn't it. And then at the end, they said, oh, she probably has a touch of Meniere's disease." I'm going, a touch of Meniere's disease? This woman can't function. This is not right. So anyway, the gentleman I was talking to at the hockey, I finally did manage to go to play one hockey game, and I told him why. And he said, "Oh, go see this guy in Sylvan Lake. He's got a machine, tell you exactly what's wrong with her." So I'm thinking, well, it's very dubious at best, right? But we're at our wits' end. So we went, well, let's go. So we go to Sylvan Lake, which is about a 4.5-hour drive from where we live in Alberta. We go in, we sit down, you hold on to 2 metal rods, and light electricity goes through your body and tries to find out what's going on in your body. So I went first. I said, well, I'm going to try this too. It sounds very interesting. See what it can pick up on me. The first thing he said to me, and it was on the report too, because you do get a printed report, or by email if you prefer. Right on there, he said, the first thing he said to me, he said, "Oh, you got a problem with your C6 in your neck." And my jaw dropped, because about 4 years prior to that, my C6 had collapsed, squishing my medial nerve that runs down my right arm, and I was laid up for 6 months. I couldn't sleep in a bed. I slept on a love seat with my neck forward and my legs up, because it would open up the vertebrae just enough to get the pain off there a little bit. I couldn't drive a car. I couldn't do anything basically for those times. So I was like, and it had healed by this time, but this machine still picked it up. And I was like, whoa, there's something to this machine if it can pick up something like that after 4 years later. And it still picks it up even today, because I got degenerative back disease is what happened there. So anyway, told me a few other things, and then Doreen went and he told her a few things. And then he said, what's causing your vertigo is your number 15 tooth is infected. And my wife being my wife, I won't say what she said, but she said, no, it's not. And he laughed and he said, it is. Go get it checked out. It's causing your vertigo. Anyway, we started coming back. I talked to her and I said, you believe in this stuff? And she goes, no, I don't believe in this stuff. I said, well, it found my C6 in my neck, and it found this tooth that's, it's probably causing your vertigo. She goes, I don't have an infection in that tooth. I have no pain there whatsoever. And I said, don't you have a root canal in that tooth? She goes, yeah. I said, well, you wouldn't feel any pain. There's no root there to feel the pain. So it might be infected. And now, that I've been doing this for a while, that happens quite often because it's a foreign body in our body, and the body tries to get rid of it, and it can become infected very easily. So anyway, phoned up our dentist, great guy. He said, get her in at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning before anybody else gets in here. We'll do an x-ray. Did an x-ray, all infected. Pulled the tooth, got rid of the infection. The vertigo went away and never came back.
Sorry, just to ask you a question there. What did your wife say when the dentist found the infection in the tooth?
I can't even remember. I just remember looking at her face, and probably my face was the same thing. Like, how could it, how Amazing. Could this? Yeah. It was so surreal because we went for 3.5 years to doctors all over the place. I firmly believe that this machine saved her life, because if we wouldn't have found that infection, it probably would have went to the brain and killed her. Because I've talked to dentists about this, and I've talked in front of people about this machine because I am the distributor for this machine in Canada. And there was a dentist in the office, and he said, "You're right. You know what? If it would have got bad enough, it would have went to her brain and it would have killed her." So everybody I've ever sold a machine to all has one of these stories that gets relayed, where basically I see two kinds of people. Well, three, but two for sure. People who believe in energy work is the first kind. Second kind are people like we were, where we had no place else to turn. Nobody could tell us what was going on. So I see a lot of those people. And then the third ones are just the curious ones.
Wow. So in regards to what was the primary reason for being inspired to try this machine? It was your friends kind of giving you a recommendation at hockey, and you've gone to many conventional means to try and figure out what's going on with your wife. And what was the real kind of inspiration with going to go and drive out and try this energy work for yourself?
There was no choice. We had no choice.
Like last resort type of thing.
Yeah, Simon, there was nothing else. We were at our wits' end. She had no life. She was stuck upstairs in our bedroom. It was no life. So it was basically a lifeline for us that this buddy of mine told us about this guy. That was the only reason we went.
Yeah, that's such a blessing that you actually had that chance conversation, and what a different world we would be in if that was a conversation that was happening more, and even coming from the conventional medical system, where like just trying this type of therapy to investigate a little bit more how many people wouldn't have to suffer for a long periods of time before they found their root concern.
And yeah, you're 100% correct, because that's what we do. We try and get down to that root cause of what's going on. I'll give you an example of that. I had a lady that I've known for years and years and years, and I could see her getting worse and worse and worse. I knew her before I ever started this. And she finally came in to see me, and she had arthritis terrible arthritis. She's been on medication for 20 years. She comes in, I did a metabolic digestive scan along with our other scans that we do, and I saw a tapeworm. I put her on some stuff to get rid of that tapeworm. Within 2 weeks, her arthritis went away and never came back. It was never arthritis. She was on medication for 20 years that she didn't need to be on. So what did that do to her body as well? So you're 100% correct. We go around misdiagnosed all over the place.
Yeah, it's crazy. And for so many different modalities, whether that's seeking out like a holistic nutritionist or acupuncture or some other complementary therapies, in many instances, these individuals that go and seek these practices have been failed by the conventional medical system that unfortunately doesn't really have a passage to the root cause of concerns. You can just look at how they actually try to remedy those with surgical interventions, with pharmaceutical drugs, etc. And there's obviously a huge place for those things in many circumstances. But when we're talking about something that manifests over a long period of time and might manifest in somebody as arthritis, but unfortunately that's just the experience and the inflammation that we would feel, but the route back to where that pain is originating from is not a typical pathway.
No, and you're 100% correct. They deal with symptoms. They don't get down to the causation. Well, they try to. I'm not going to poo-poo doctors. They have a tough job.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never poo-poo them, and I'd never want to be a doctor, to tell you the truth. They've got a tough job. Where they fall down is in getting down to the causational issues of what's going on in a lot of cases. They know what they know. We know what we know. I think that we're complementary to each other is what we can be. Where I take umbrage is for a company like yours and some of the supplements that I give my clients, and then I give homeopathics as well. Why can't we write those off against our taxes? I'm saving conservatively hundreds of thousands of dollars in the medical field because people they're being proactive in a lot of cases. So why don't we reward those people by being able to write that stuff off?
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because obviously in most countries around the world, healthcare is an incredibly expensive part of their budget, and in many cases the top spending. And there's so many things that we can do in regards to prevention and even treatment for so many different diseases. But but unfortunately for now, like the conventional model kind of rules, and they're looking for kind of like a magic bullet method. But when we're talking about using a broad spectrum micronutrient supplement or bioenergy work, this is something that is a lot more holistic and has the ability to allow that individual to recognize that they've got a big responsibility for their own health, and that they can actually really heal themselves significantly rather than relying on a medication or a surgical treatment that's has side effects and can have just as bad as issues as the conditions themselves,
if not worse, over time.
Absolutely. Just before we kind of get into the Qest 4 system, I think that we struggle to understand sometimes the things that we just talking about kind of energy and frequency itself. We've had a few other people on the show talking about this type of thing, and I'm always interested to see how you explain this to people. So I think, yeah, as I say, people struggle to understand things that we can't experience with our senses, our very limited senses. So how do you go about explaining energy work and frequency to people? Because a lot of people don't really get it unless they're like a physicist or something.
Yeah, it's a tough concept, and there's times when I even don't understand it. When you get into quantum physics and everything else, I'm like, hello.
Sure.
It's pretty tough. How I explain it is Here in the West, we are more into the physical things, the chemical makeup of everything. Everything has a chemical makeup. But what we don't understand is everything has an energetic pattern to it as well. That's unique to that person, that organ, that skin, that product, whatever it may be. We're all energy. And it's all individual energy patterns. So let's say dandelion root has its own energetic pattern, completely different than another product or thing, or aspirin, let's say. There's an energetic pattern to that. So we work on the energetic patterns, not the chemical patterns. So we capture that energetic pattern of whatever it may be. There's 65,000 different things that are programmed into the Qest 4 machine. And we can add, and we do, probably every about 3 or 4 months, we get an update with more things that are put into it. At different, like when COVID-19 was coming on scene, well, of course, we had an update for that to get COVID-19 into there as well. So we're always adding new stuff, but you have to have a paradigm shift in your thinking. Here in the West, we're so focused on the physical, we don't understand that there's an energy pattern for everything as well.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because we are so focused on the physical, and I think for 100 years we're stuck on the Newtonian law of physics when it comes to matter and energy. But obviously, when we're talking about subatomic quantum physics, we're talking about the fact that the majority of matter is energy by a significant amount, and that's obviously a lot of what the work that you are doing.
Yeah, this has been around for a long time. It was Dr. Reinhard Voll, way back in the 1940s, a German physician. He was tired of dealing with symptoms, and he realized that the Chinese had studied meridians, the energy pathways, that for thousands of years. So he realized they were all energy. So he thought, well, if it's all energy, can I find out what's going on in the body energetically? So he had a young gentleman hold on to a ground bar, and he put light electricity through him, and he found if more electricity came out than went in, you had more toxic issues and more inflammation issues on that meridian. If less energy came out than went in, then you had more degenerative issues because the cells had degenerated and it's not letting the electricity go through. And that's how he came up with bioenergetic feedback or meridian stress analysis.
Wow. I mean, yeah, obviously when it comes to meridians and energy, these things are thousands of years old. And I always find it super fascinating and wonderful when like the scientific technological world engages with that ancient mysticism, I suppose. Just wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Qest 4 system and how it works?
Sure. It's very easy for the client. Well, there's basically two ways. One, you can hold on to two metal rods and light electricity go through your body, and we try and find out what's going on in your body energetically, get down to the causes of what's going on. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not a magic bullet. It takes us a while. It's like peeling the layers of an onion to try and get down to those causational issues. So sometimes usually it's 3 to 12 times before we can get down to those causational issues. Sometimes you get lucky, like with my wife, because it was so pronounced right away, we knew, or the lady with the tapeworm. Another person had what he thought was gout, and it turned out that his thyroid and parathyroid wasn't working properly. And we found that out on the very first try as well. The really neat one about that is the calcium wasn't getting reabsorbed, so it was pooling under his left heel, and it was mimicking gout because it had crystallized, and it wouldn't. So it was like he was walking on glass, so he couldn't walk at all. So how they went back to their doctor and said, could it be something else other than gout? Because I told them it wasn't gout. And he got back to me and said, yeah, actually, your thyroid and parathyroid is not working properly. We'll schedule you in for an operation. And the guy goes, I need an operation. What for? We have to scrape off all of that calcium because it's calcified and it's just like bone. We have to scrape it off the bottom of your heel or you'll never walk properly again. But he's already starting to feel better. And he said, well, I'll be the first one that doesn't need this operation then. And he walked into my office 6 weeks later. So the human body is amazing. If you would have told me when I first started this that the body can reabsorb the calcium that had calcified in the bottom of somebody's foot, I would have never believed you. But now I think the human body can do absolutely anything.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And obviously, yeah, the body, given the right circumstances and application, it can do magic. It can do wonders. It can foster and harvest a host of chemicals to completely heal us and repair us beyond what we conventionally know to be healing. So it's wonderful that more and more people are accessing information and practices and therapies that can give them an alternative, even safer route to healing. And again, you know, people certainly need to be more assertive and take more control over their own healthcare to do something like that, because you know, you can go to a doctor's office and get a prescription and fill it out and then take that pill or something. That's a super simple and easy thing to do, but like, you know, really assessing what you're doing and how it's caused you to be in a state of dis-ease, it takes a lot of responsibility and self-awareness and self-application to be able to rectify that, to actually heal and cure things.
I think it goes beyond that too. I think when you don't take responsibility for your health and for what you do, you're being a victim. It's happening to you. You don't realize that you're drawing this to you with the stuff that you're doing. The only way you can stop being a victim is to take responsibility for anything that happens in your life. Because if you do that, then you can deal with it. I don't care what it is. Take responsibility for it. Say you've drawn it to yourself, whether you think you've drawn it to yourself or not, doesn't really matter. You need to take responsibility for it so that you can do something about it. Otherwise, you're just a victim.
Certainly. And when you say to me, taking responsibility, I hear becoming conscious and becoming aware of like what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what you're doing, how that's making you, you know, create this kind of state of being, and how you can change all those things. You can change your thoughts, you can change your feelings, you can change your behaviors to exhibit a new state of being, somebody who doesn't have pain, someone who doesn't have an illness. And this all comes with taking responsibility and becoming conscious and aware of the things that you're doing. And once people realize that they've got this power at all times to become super conscious and do these things, then there's no going back from there. And I love that you had this experience with this machine with your wife, and you had this transformational connection to your own pains in the past in your own body, and that's just clearly was a big light bulb moment for you. And now that you've done this work for so long and you've experienced so many other people who have most likely come into your office, you've done this work, and from what you've evaluated and seen using this energy work and describe to these people, they can connect with what you're saying with their own bodies, and then boom, that's like, oh my goodness, right, that is why, that's a great connection, and now I can actually do some things to fix that. And it's a really powerful moment where people are able to make that positive change for themselves to feel better.
And it's really interesting too. I'm going to be 60 this year, and I realize now that I've been doing this, I don't have all the pains and the aches and all the stuff that I used to have before I was almost 60. And I'm going, holy cow. It's not that I was getting older. It's that I was unhealthy. And once I took charge of my health, those pains went away. And all of a sudden, holy cow, I don't have this. I call them old man noises. I don't get up off the couch or sit down. I don't have those anymore. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. When you take care of your health, we all think, oh, I'm getting older or this or that. No, in a lot of cases, it's because we're not healthy.
Absolutely. And your body can only do what it can with what you give it, whether that's food, water, exercise, movement, and focus and attention. Sometimes when we are talking about meditation, for example, that can be the only time really where we're actually bringing energy back towards us and allowing us to heal and repair. And we're just kind of go, go, go all the time, and we're giving away our energy to all these things outside of us, and we're never like restoring that pool of resources. Doing this type of work can really make people aware of what they can do second by second every day, whether they're going to restore themselves or deplete themselves. And the body can do miraculous things given the circumstances. Why would somebody seek out a bioenergy practice like yourself? Do you see like a pattern with the people that come and see you?
Do I see a pattern? I'm kind of all over the map on that one. And I'm trying to find a niche because I'm kind of realizing maybe that's the way I need to go. That's kind of why I went with your products. I see a huge need. Fully 70% of the people that I see have anxiety or depression to one form or another.
70%, 70.
Yeah, 70.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not a great cross section of the population because it's people who come and are already sick or already looking for something, right? But of those, 70% do have anxiety and depression. And I work with the anxiety and depression, and I work quite well with it. Where I fall down is getting them off their medication. And when I found your products, I went, whoa, this is a way that I can use this product, because it's an amazing product line. I love what you've done with it. I love your story. I love the premise. I think it's 100% correct. That's what I do. I balance the body so the body can heal itself. That's exactly what you guys are doing. You guys are balancing the body, the brain specifically, which is one of the toughest ones to get balanced out. I go a little bit beyond that by, if I find heavy metals in there, try and get the heavy metals out and those kind of things, which I'm sure you guys have ran across that and done that in your own ways as well. Gosh, it's a tough question for me to answer, Simon, because I do animals as well, right? I do, and I have clients from Northwest Territories I've never met, because I do hair samples as well, because it's just energy, right? So I can get the energy off of their hair or their nail samples. We can do urine, but I don't. Why? When I can do nail samples or hair samples. So I've got lots of clients I've never met before. So do I need a niche? I don't know. I'm still struggling with that one a little bit, as far as, because we've helped so many different things. There's 65,000 different things programmed in this machine. So
so many different. So there's obviously many different people come to you for many different reasons.
Yes.
And as you say, 70% of them are experiencing anxiety on some sort of level. Would you say that people are coming to see you because of anxiety? Is that like the trigger that makes them come and see you, or is it maybe pains or aches or headaches or some other symptomology that is leading to somebody to you because you are practicing a complementary therapy here?
Well, I do get ones with pain, of course. But a lot of the ones with anxiety come in because they can't sleep. That's their biggest issue, is they can't sleep. They can't shut off their mind. It's going and going and going and going and going. And young people, like kids who have this anxiety and depression. And when I found your product, I realized, we're not getting our minerals from our foods anymore. We're not getting the electrolytes. We're not getting the vitamins that we need in our diet, because the farmers are only replacing three of the minerals out of the land, and we need, I think there's like 12 different ones in there that we need. Yes, they're trace minerals, but they're very, very important for the human mind and the human body. So, sometimes people come in and for a completely different reason, and I ask them, you can tell pretty much when somebody has anxiety, depression, just by talking to them and how they're reacting. And I'll ask them, do you have any anxiety or depression? And it'll come up on my machine as well. So they come in for a variety of reasons, but I would say 70% are from that have that anxiety, depression. Can I tell you another little story of my brother?
Please.
So my older brother, he's 5 years older than me. When I started this, it took him 2 years to come see me, because what does a younger brother know, right? He doesn't know anything about this. He's a father. He's a business owner. He's a grandfather. He's my brother. Who the heck, he doesn't know anything about this stuff. But I was the gentleman I went and saw in Sylvan Lake. He used to come to St. Paul, which is about a half an hour away from where we live. And so one of his clients came to see me because she said, well, I don't want to go all the way to Sylvan Lake because that's a 4-hour drive when I can come here in half an hour. So she came to see me. And my brother's had Crohn's since he was 17 years of age. He's going to be 65 this year. So this lady was talking about her brother was going to see Mike, and he has no Crohn's symptoms whatsoever. They're gone. So I told my brother, I said, listen, I think I could help you with your Crohn's here. And he goes, okay, I'll come to see you at Christmas time. He lives in Edmonton, which is about 2.5 hours away from where we are, but he always comes here for Christmas. It's always at my sister's place, my older sister. Oh, she's going to hate me if she hears that. So I finally got him to come. So he came to my office, started doing all the scans. This was on Christmas Eve. I know we go golfing in the summertime. We meet in a town halfway, and I knew that he hurt his right leg golfing, his right knee. And I said, is your knee still sore? He said, yeah. So we have a way of putting in stuff for pain or inflammation into our drops, the homeopathics. So I put some stuff in for pain, inflammation, and anxiety, depression runs in our family. So I put in anxiety and depression stuff in the drops as well. So you put your hand on the machine and you actually get a treatment while you're sitting there. But it doesn't look like you're doing anything, right? You're just, but it's all energy work. So finished up with him, gave him his homeopathic drops and whatever herbs that he needed. He gets up to leave and he goes, Phil, I said, what? He says, I have no pain in my knee. I said, yeah, sometimes it can happen that fast. I said, what do you mean? You didn't do anything? I said, actually, you got a treatment when you had your hand on that machine, on that plate. He looked at me like I had 3 heads. So anyway, he goes back. He always stays in a hotel. The next morning, he's made himself into a really good cook because he has Crohn's, right? So every time you eat, you get terrible cramps. They say the cramps are like labor pains. And I believe that because I've seen him when it happens. So we made a tradition where he comes over and we have brunch and he makes eggs Benedict for anybody who wants eggs Benedict. And we have crepes and we have pancakes. Whoever wants to come in the family comes. So he comes to the front door and I'm all excited just to see how his knee is again, right? So I said, how's your knee? He said, my knee, I have no pain there whatsoever. And I got this weird feeling of euphoria. What the hell is in these drops, Phil? So long story short, I know it's a long story. He has no symptoms of Crohn's whatsoever now.
That's like 40 plus years experiencing that, right?
Yes. And it's amazing what the human body does because he forgot he had Crohn's. Because another lady was coming to see me with Crohn's and colitis. And so I phoned him up and I said, how's your Crohn's? And he says, I don't have any symptoms. I said, what do you mean you don't have any symptoms? I said, you wouldn't think to tell me that, Dan? He says, Phil, I forgot I have it. He had it for 40 some years. He doesn't even realize that he had it.
Yeah, that Crohn's and that pain is an old personality it's not even going to be on his mind anymore.
Nope, it's gone. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's really cool. And I'm interested to wonder what like a initial session looks like. I come into your office and Is it simply a case of sitting down and connecting to this machine? Do we have like an intake form? Do we talk about stuff?
Yeah, so of course you have a disclaimer. We all have disclaimers, right? So you sign the disclaimer, you come in. We do 4 tests at the start. We do a comprehensive analysis. We do a main body scan with the reproductive organs, an informational scan, and then I do a food sensitivity list. From there, depending on what the person tells me or what I see on the scans, we'll do other scans. And we have breakout scans, we call them breakout scans, from metabolic, digestive. And digestion's huge, right? Because 70% of your immune system is tied up with your digestion, right? So we do metabolic, digestive, large and small intestine, heart, skin, liver, whatever, right down to emotional scans, sleep scans, cancer scans. It runs the gamut.
Oh, wow. That sounds really, you can get really specific with this then.
Yes. Now, it's not a diagnostic tool because we can't make any diagnostic claims. And I'll tell you another reason why it can't be a diagnostic tool is I had a client come in and mad cow disease came up. And of course, the person didn't have mad cow disease, but the person had symptoms that matched mad cow disease. So the machine picked BSE as the thing that's going on with the person. So if you are not a good technician, you'd say, "Oh my God, you got mad cow disease," when they really did. They had, the aches and the pains and a few other things that go along with mad cow disease, but they don't have mad cow disease. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah. How do you think we can get this type of work? How can it integrate more into a conventional model? Because I think we spoke about it before. I think when it comes to complementary therapies and conventional ones, I think that there's a really big divide, and there are certainly things like acupuncture and chiropractic work and herbs to an extent where there's certainly an acceptance from the conventional model. In some other countries more than ours, perhaps in North America, how do you think that this type of work can become more, let's call it mainstream?
Tough question.
Yeah, that's
question.
That's a big one. Sorry, I'm asking you to cure Canada right now.
The problem is we're so pharmaceutical centered, right? And nobody wants to lose their piece of the pie. So it's you're 100% correct. I mean, there's 25,000 practitioners in Europe who do some sort of bioenergetic testing. They've got it completely flipped around in Europe compared to here. In Europe, the first place they go to is somebody like me. The last place they go to is a doctor. Where here, the first place they go to is a doctor. The last person in a lot of cases is somebody like me. Until people's minds change and realize that there's more than just take a pill and you're going to get better, thinking out there, I can't see it changing that much, to tell you the truth, Simon. I wish I had an answer for you. I don't know if you've come across somebody that has an answer. I'd love to hear it, because I haven't.
Yeah, it's complicated, and I think you're right in regards to, I think that if there's going to be any type of change, it's going to have to come from the people. I think to expect a huge change in the way we do healthcare from a government, I think we're dreaming, and I think it's never going to happen. But if people are taking more responsibility for their own health and considering, moving their body daily and choosing better foods, that's a massive personal choice that you're taking towards your own health. And then we have these amazing complementary therapies and medicines that, as you say, there's so many practitioners out there in every city nearly now, these wonderful people doing this great work. And I've got a couple of really good friends of mine who are doctors in Frankfurt, and they are prescribing herbs way before they're prescribing drugs in primarily in like antidepressants in depressed people. There's a whole host of herbs that they try beforehand, before they even touch pharmaceutical drugs, because they're fully aware that these drugs are addicting, and side effects include like suicide and homicidal thoughts and some really, really harsh things. So to expect the conventional model to flip flop their very well established stance in a way, it's going to have to come down to people becoming a lot more proactive, a lot more educated. And I think they're going to have to do that themselves. And hopefully we can create like a generation of individuals who are teaching their kids that, doing certain things towards your own health is really contributing to society in a very positive way. And that you've got, at any point, your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors can make you feel great, or they can make you feel bad. And over the long period of time can really lead to a diseased body.
No question. I mean, when you said you can change your mind, you can change your thinking, there's no doubt that can happen. Too many people are stuck in they can't change their mind. Well, from neuroplasticity, we know that things change. New pathways can be made in the brain. So, doing certain things like meditation, when you talked about, is huge for people to just calm, relax, be there. And you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to be perfect at it. Just do it. And it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. How can people connect with you, Phil?
So Qest for Health, Bonneville on Facebook. I'm not really good at tech, so it's not the greatest in the world. They can also go just on Facebook and find me, Phil Kushnir. Or give me a call, 780-573-2002 or 1-877-673-2002 or philkushnir@hotmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, Phil. For information to connect with Phil, or we'll put some things in the show notes for some of the things that we've discussed today, especially when it comes to this really interesting technology. We'll make sure that those are in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. This is Truehope Cast, the official podcast of Truehope Canada. If you've yet to subscribe on wherever you're listening from, on Spotify, iTunes, Google, etc., make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on a show. But thank you again, Phil. Appreciate your time today.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you next week, everyone. Thank you.